Hello, World Wide Web. I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair, and welcome back to...
The Summer of Freddy versus Jason!
And as it's week... whatever, it's time for Jason Lives. AKA Friday the 13th Part 6. While Part 5 was financially successful, it is regarded as the black sheep of the series. Or a black sheep. One of several black sheep, but the one without Jason, and the fans demanded the return of Voorhees. With that taken into account, Paramount ordered that this installment focus on Jason as the killer once more. Which didn't go quite as smoothly as it could have. This is considered one of the polarizing movies in the series. Some love it, some hate it, but it is objectively true that this is the point in the series where they started making less and less money per installment. The story follows Tommy Jarvis. Yes, the same one, though he's played by a completely different actor yet again. In his efforts to make sure Jason is really dead, he kinda sorta accidentally unleashes zombie Jason on the world, just in time for a whole new batch of camp counselors to come into town. This means, despite being missing in action for 6 years, Jason has no problem getting right back into the swing of things. Which means blood, butchering, and the body count rising. So, let's take a look at Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6, and see just how Tommy could fuck this up so bad. The story begins on a dark and crappy night, where we see Tommy is already taken to the road to find Jason, along with his friend Alan, played by Ron Palio.
If the institution ever found out about this, they would haul our butts back in and straitjacket them.
It seems that Tommy is still institutionalized. Or was. But he didn't kill Pam. Or he did. And it really is that inconsequential. Tommy, played this time by Tom Matthews, is a man on a mission. That mission being to completely destroy Jason's remains and ensure that the story will finally come to an end.
Jason belongs in hell.
Tommy, I got good news and bad news. As you might have noticed, they find Jason's remains in a cemetery. That's right, the cremation thing they established in the 5th movie, and then immediately discredited, simply didn't happen, and his body is buried in a cemetery well within access to the public.
Okay, let's go.
Wait a second.
What?
Yeah, you came out there to destroy the remains. That does involve actions beyond sightseeing, Alan. So the two of them start digging. As this is a movie, it's not a grueling task that takes hours, but something finished in less than a minute, revealing Jason's casket a hell of a lot deeper this time around.
There's your proof. There's his coffin. Let's go. Hand me the crowbar.
You're not gonna open that.
Oh fuck, you've already done the hard part. Who the fuck digs up a grave and then is like, yep, still there, and then buries it again? As such, Tommy pries the box open, revealing to the audience what condition the unstoppable killer is in. Pretty fucked! There's really not all that much left of him to destroy after being buried for 6 years. It is enough to get Tommy to start having memories of Corey Feldman yelling in his head, so he uses his Hulk smash powers to tear a pole off the perimeter fence and take it out on the cadaver.
Oh, shit.
Tommy, what are you doing? He's not a vampire. Stop it. Despite it complicating their plans, Tommy just leaves the thing there while he goes off to get the gas, so they may burn Jason's remains. But then... Oh, if there only wasn't a metal pole sticking out of Jason to charge him like a goddamn Duracell just then! No, I wouldn't worry too much about it. It didn't look like it charged him all that much. And besides, lightning never strikes the same place twice. Well, the movie's gotta start somehow. Instead of just getting to the burning, Tommy tries to remove the rod, which he really should have done beforehand. But now that he farted around this long with it, something happens. Jason Voorhees is the Mummy. Gotta hand it to Tommy, though. He sticks to the plan, grabbing the gas and splashing it all over Jason before fumbling like an idiot with that easily misplaced matchbook. Okay, Tommy, at this point, I think it's safe to say that God's rooting for Jason.
Fatality!
And the body count has started. Now it's just Jason and Tommy, so Tommy gets into his car and drives the fuck away from there. That's weird, cars never fucking work in these situations. Nevertheless, Jason suits up, and Tommy goes straight to the local sheriff, Garrus, played by David Kagan. Sure, he came in screaming and yelling about a danger and death and major problems the police should probably do something about, but there's something far more important going on here.
What's your name, son?
Oh, Tommy Jarvis, but look, we've got to do something. He's even more powerful now.
Aren't you the kid whose mother and friends were killed by that maniac?
Yeah. Jason murdered them.
You've been in some psychiatric clinic.
Garrus knows that if there's any minute reason that you maybe shouldn't do your job, go for that explanation. It's less Occam's razor and more Occam's guillotine. Since neither Garrus or the deputy Rick, played by Vincent Costefaro, believe him, Tommy just grabs one of their shotguns to deal with it himself. This obviously lands him a complimentary room for the night instead. With him out of the way for a while, we move on to introducing more characters, the head counselors for the local camp, Darren and Elizabeth, played by Tony Goldwyn and Nancy McLaughlin, respectively. Nancy being the wife of writer-slash-director Tom McLaughlin, and Tony being the guy I'm always going to remember as the bad guy from Ghost. She's also the character with the best survival instincts in the whole genre.
We better turn around.
Why?
Because I've seen enough horror movies to know any weirdo wearing a mask is never friendly.
Of course, there has to be some reason why she can't get away. Car trouble. Stuck in a ditch. It's just that Darren is such a fucking idiot, his stupidity actually managed to get even more than himself killed.
Just drive towards him, he'll move. Nobody wants to die.
Well, that's a freaking fact, least of all us.
Will you just drive?
Yeah. Unsurprisingly, trying to scare Jason off doesn't work out, and when he starts to take out their tires, Elizabeth says they should just drive backwards all the way to town. Darren still wants to die, though.
Where'd you get that?
Don't worry about it. Just stay cool.
Stay cool, you ain't Dirty Harry, now stop it.
Yeah, Dirty Harry had a .357 Magnum, the most powerful handgun in the world. Until the .44 Magnum, but then he upgraded to that anyway. The point is, that's a .22 LR revolver. There are air guns out there with more oomph. Unsurprisingly, the cap gun does fuck all. So, yeah, she's fucked. On the plus side, Darren's dead. You know, always look on the bright side of mass murder. Now forced to run, Elizabeth drops right into a ditch, gets caught, and with little else to try, she figures, fuck it, give Jason some money and he might not gut her.
Take it at me.
There's your problem. Jason only accepts Visa and MasterCard. Thing is, they were the head counselors, so the rest of the counselors stop off at the police station to report they haven't shown up yet. This introduces pretty much the rest of the important characters. Megan, played by Jennifer Cook, Court, played by Tom Fridley, and finally Paula and Sissy, played by Carrie Noon and Renee Jones.
I've got a bad feeling what might have happened to them. Well, hopefully they're fine, but with Jason out there...
Shut up.
Jason who?
Bitch, sixth movie in the franchise! Don't tell me you don't fucking know yet! As this risks giving these fresh victims fair warning, of course the sheriff tries to shut Tommy up.
You mean the Jason of Camp Blood?
Yes.
No.
He's talking about Jason Bourne. Maybe Elizabeth was having some trouble with the CIA, but the point is the camp is fine. This short exchange is enough to establish that there is a romantic subplot between Tommy and Megan. This is a problem, though, because Megan is actually the sheriff's daughter.
I was gonna call that clinic and have them collect your ass, but I don't want you around here any longer poisoning my daughter or anyone else with your warped sense of humor.
Well, the clinic will tie him up, take him with them, put him in a room, lock him up, keep him under observation, and make sure he doesn't get out. Does your plan have anything on that?
We're gonna escort you to the edge of my jurisdiction. Then we will say goodbye, and we'll never see you around here again. Do we understand each other?
You plan to drive him away. Like, literally just drive until he is just outside of your sight, and then trust that he is not going to turn around, come back, and do what he is telling you is the most important fucking thing in the world to do right now. There's still evidence that Tommy is telling the truth, though, which the cemetery caretaker, Martin, played by Bob Larkin, quickly destroys to make sure nobody thinks he's bad at his job.
Why'd I have to go and dig up Jason? Some folks have a strange idea of entertainment.
Fucking dead bodies, man! Yeah! I'll just say right now, I love the writing of this movie. It knows it's popcorn entertainment and doesn't think that's something to be ashamed of. However, there's something else this movie has to offer, which no other Friday the 13th has done before.
I can think of only one thing, even more terrifying.
What?
children at the camp! Children at summer camp? What kind of sorcery is this? Indeed, a lot of kids have come over to Camp Forest Green. Yeah, the county's been renamed to Forest Green because Crystal Lake reminded people of Jason, so they fixed that. It's not like Jason has been associated with forests at any point of his illustrious career. Oh yeah, that was Bert, played by Wallace Mark. At this point, I'm really not going to have much time to do anything but rattle off names before these characters get killed. Stan, Katie, and Larry, played by Matthew Faison, Ann Ryerson, and Alan Bloomfield, respectively. And that's Roy, played by Whitney Ryback. Yeah, they're out here in the woods playing paintball because they work in the business, and the competitive aspect of it helps with... it doesn't fucking matter anymore. What does matter is Tommy clearly shows the police that leading her out won't do shit, considering he takes off towards the cemetery to prove that Jason has risen from the dead. Of course, finding his grave covered up and caretaker silent on the matter, they don't buy it. Instead, sticking to the plan of taking him to the edge of the county and trusting he won't just turn the fuck around like he's obviously going to do. This means we can continue watching the caretaker walk home and get shit-faced. So is this the part in the long-running series where the bad guy that all the kids love starts teaching them not to litter? If so, his methods are simple but effective. These other two characters, Steve and Annette, played by Roger Rose and Cynthia Kenya, were just out in the woods fucking around and add nothing to this movie outside of the body count. That's always the problem when it comes to having a high body count in a slasher movie. I mean, yeah, sure, more dead bodies, slasher movie, good, but there's absolutely no time to get to know these guys or figure out why the hell I should even care half the time. The only characters they really give us much time to get to know are the camp counselors. Well, some of them at least, considering the head counselors died as fast as we met them, but that's what's bothering Paula, because without them here, she doesn't think they have enough people to deal with all the kids at camp.
We're not prepared to run this.
There's no problem. Odds are there's not going to be that many of them left by the end of the movie, so you'll find your equilibrium. This was just a random scare, though, from the camper Nancy, played by Courtney Vickery. She's scared of something, but nobody really thinks much of it.
And he wanted to kill me.
Oh, you mean you had a bad dream?
Wrong franchise, bitch! They figure whatever's bothering her can't be that important and silence her with some empty platitudes. With that done, they start wondering where Nikki and Court have run off to. This being a Friday the 13th movie, of course, they're fucking.
You gotta keep it up to the end of the song.
How much longer?
It's only 10 more minutes.
And it's quite a stark contrast going from part 5 to this. Part 5, directed by a man who directed porn. The sex scene in that was... damn! And this... I don't even have to censor it for YouTube. Now, I think you could play it on Nickelodeon. Jason still puts an end to this fuckery by cutting the power. Nikki sends Court out to investigate because that way she can provide a jump scare when he least expects it. Realizing the problem's a bit worse than a loose plug, the two of them return to the RV and head back. Court taking the wheel and being even more of a useless dick than before.
Sounds like you're having fun back there. What are you doing?
Huh, yeah, Court, time of her life. Which ends when Jason smashes her face into the side panel, and Court's continued stupidity catches up to him as slowly as possible with a badass tactical knife. The crashing of the RV was actually the last shot filmed for the whole movie, partly because the actor for Jason, CJ Graham, was actually doing all of his own stunts, and they figured that they might have some problems finishing the movie if they broke their Jason. If you're wondering why Megan is not at the camp taking care of business, that's because she's hanging out with her old man trying to find out either where the head counselors are, or where that cute boy with the psychotic delusions ran off to. After a call informs Garrus that the counselors have been found, though not entirely in one piece, he leaves and Megan stays behind to tend to his phone. Who would happen to call but that hunk Tommy?
I've got to talk to your dad about Jason.
Tommy, my father's out looking for you right now. Something happened tonight, and he's sure you're responsible for it. If he finds you, he's gonna...
Yeah, he made that real clear.
What the fuck are you doing calling his office for him? So she decides to take matters into her own hands and drive out there to help Tommy with his anti-Jason agenda. While this is going on, not only do the police find out that the counselor's deaths match Jason's methodology, but they find Roy's body mutilated in the woods, which means the sheriff is sure it's just Tommy who has gone so far as to murder people to prove he's right. Not quite as bad a thought process as Sissy, who hears someone outside and thinks, I'll pour some lemon lime on them, that'll stop the stupid prank. Silly friends out there trying to scare me with their screaming and crunching noises. I know this is just a stupid prank. They're probably just out there screwing each other's heads off. So Jason's reached the camp, but no one's really noticed. Except Nancy, but Point is, Megan is driving around with Tommy to help him on his quest, but runs into a problem at a police roadblock. But hey, they know how to make the best out of a bad situation. This results in a chase scene, set to the tune of Hard Rock Summer by Alice Cooper. The problem here is that the sheriff actually set up roadblocks in several roads, and is also the kind of guy who doesn't bat an eye at pointing a shotgun square in his daughter's face.
End of the line.
Oh, shit.
It's fair to say he's got fantastic self-control, though, all things considered. Thus, Tommy and Megan are dragged right back to the station, and wouldn't you know it, a call comes in that they found Nicky in court. Dead, mutilated, and horribly burnt, but found him. This is all the proof the sheriff needs to condemn Tommy as a psychopathic mass murderer.
What time did this happen?
What difference is that?
What time?
8:30, 9 o'clock. Why?
Tommy was with me all that time, Dad.
Rick, I'll call you from there. Lock him up.
Fuck facts and contradicting evidence. I've got an agenda and I'm sticking to it. So Tommy goes into the cell, and Paula tries to comfort Nancy with more bullshit.
You know what I used to do when I was a little girl and I got scared?
Started a Change.org petition about it? Nah, something just as good, though. She'd close her eyes and pray the monster away.
See you in the morning.
This is assuming either of you are going to see morning. As we continue watching Paula walk over to go to sleep alone with nothing else interesting going on, it's kinda obvious that's not going to be the case. This doesn't bother her. All these weird noises and doors flying open must be her asshole friends trying to scare her by controlling the wind. Jesus Christ, what is Jason doing in there? Why do I think it looks like something out of the WWE? Now that Megan's the only counselor left alive and not yet back at the camp, she plots with Tommy a secret plan to break him out of the cell. Hey! It took you long enough, Rick. Especially considering they faked an argument with each other, which probably should have brought your attention to that cell a little sooner. This deception gets the deputy in just the right place for Megan to swipe his gun, along with its ridiculously large laser, freeing Tommy while leaving Rick in the cell. Now back on the road, Megan and Tommy can get that equipment Tommy swears they need to defeat Jason, as he insists guns won't do jack. Oh, yeah, Jason, he's still at the camp. Nobody there but him and the kids.
No, lay down to sleep or pretty little myself thinking if I should die before I wake.
Honestly, kid, I think Jason's just freaked out by tiny people. I mean, think about it. According to the lore, it's been something like 40 years or more since he's last seen a child. Whatever he's planning gets cut short when the sound catches his attention, and by Nancy's perspective, he disappears. But don't forget the closet, kiddo. Unless Jason went all the way through into the Monsters, Inc. world and he's now terrorizing the power plant. The sound was the arrival of the police. No, they still don't know Jason's here, and as far as the sheriff is concerned, they locked up Tommy, so that's that. They're just here to let everyone know the bad news about 4 of the counselors, before shortly realizing the other counselors aren't doing much better. Officer Thornton, played by Mike Nomad, figures he should check the lake, cause you never know, might find a slasher villain here. Hey! Okay, now I'm wondering what Jason vs. Lee Christmas would have looked like. I mean, I know that Jason's an undead Superman, but the Expendables have plot armor, so that's just as good. We then change over to Officer Pappas, played by Michael Swan, also slinking around quietly. He's jump-scared by Nancy, though, screaming about the big monster man who's been scaring her. Said monster man shows up shortly afterward, and we see what good a higher caliber round does on Jason. Jeez, imagine how many lives would be saved if someone would just buy Jason a stress ball. It's not okay! I know how this encounter ends, I just fucking saw it!
Oh, no, it's okay.
Not this time, though. This is Sheriff Garris, and he's got a shotgun. So he shoos all the kids into the cabin, instructing them to hide under their beds, because, well, fuck it makes it easier to find the bodies, and he goes off to confront Jason. Not with Miranda rights or saying freeze or anything like that. Just wait for Jason to go for his weapon and then shoot his ass. Like this is a fucking Wild West or something. Or maybe that's just a 12-gauge warning shot to the torso. Which, interestingly enough, did drop Jason flat. I mean, this is the most literal sense, of course, because the man isn't dead. Or isn't any deader, I guess I should say. Which results in a long combat between Jason and Garris, while Tommy and Megan return to the camp. This means that even after Garris evades Jason's pursuit, his daughter can start screaming for help, causing him to go up against the big badass yet again in an attempt to save her life. Oh, a travel lawman. Folds up for easy storage. So it's just Tommy, Megan, and the kids. While Tommy chains up a rock and heads out to the lake to lure Jason, he has no fucking idea what the hell Megan should be doing.
Get back to the cabin with the kids! Megan, no!
You just fucking told her to do that! Do you, of all people, really think that Jason wasn't heading to the big pile of fresh victims over there? Thus, Megan runs right into the towering terror, but Tommy's taunts temporarily tempt the Titan. This becomes sort of a tug-of-war between Tommy's plan and Megan being an oh-so-welcoming victim, but the wish to kill Tommy eventually wins out. Unfortunately, Jason winds up completely submerged, and Tommy realizes this climactic battle looks kinda dull, so he pours a little gasoline and lights the water on fire to give it more of that epic flavor. Yay! I mean, Tommy's fucking dead, but the plan kinda worked. Jason is trapped underwater by the weight of the boulder and throttles the life out of Tommy Jarvis. Megan can't leave well enough alone, though, and swims out there to rescue Tommy, winding up well within grabbing reach of Jason, so one quick motor blade to the neck later, and she escapes. Therefore, happy ending! Her extremely amateur CPR skills are just enough to resuscitate Tommy, every single kid survived, and the lake is calm once more. Though I wouldn't swim there if I were you. Also, while I usually skip credits when I'm watching these movies, I actually let these play all the way through, for a good reason. Gotta love awesome soundtracks in slasher movies. Anyway, that was Jason Lives, Friday the 13th, Part 6. And I love it. My biggest complaint off the top of my head is the heavily dialed back smut factor. Not a deal breaker for a decent movie, but considering the history of the Friday the 13th series, a lack of titties is a bit jarring. Other than that, I really don't have many major issues here. The gore effects aren't the best the series has to offer, but they look good and the cutaway deaths weren't too jarring. For the long list of things I liked about this movie, let's start with the writing. There are plenty of memorable lines here, many of which between the kids, which I really didn't showcase too much in this review, but so far as child actors go, they were top-notch. I liked the humorous angle they went for with certain scenes, without diving completely into the horror comedy pool, forgetting that this thing's supposed to be at least somewhat scary. As far as the fright factor goes, though, while there are some genuinely creepy parts and shocking moments, it isn't the strongest in this series. The fact that the body count is made up of mostly undeveloped characters who show up 5 minutes or less before they are killed off doesn't help when it comes to feeling invested in the outcome. The deaths of the main characters felt meaningful, but too many kills felt superfluous for the movie to keep its tension and dread throughout. Overall, Jason Lives, Friday the 13th Part 6, may have been the beginning of the end for the franchise pulling in heaps of money, but what a way to go. Coming in at 4 machetes with complimentary appendages out of 5. If anything, it's a nice way to introduce the series to someone who is perfectly fine with crushing heads and stabbing teenagers, yet for some reason thinks that a nipple is going to warp people's minds. Thank you all for watching. I've been Shado. And remember, if a 12-gauge shotgun doesn't work, don't even fucking try the lemon lime soda.
So, what were you gonna be when you grew up?